Welcome to the Being the Leader of Your Life podcast. I am your host, Becky Glenyce. So what is being the leader in your daily life look like with relationships, with your body, with business, with money? And what if you knew that you were the only one stopping you from having the life that you desire? So being the leader is about the choices we can make now for the future we desire. And every choice you make contributes to creating the future. So what future would you like to create today? And what if there was something else available around leadership, being you, and empowering you to know what you know? I invite you to join me and my amazing friends to explore conversations in consciousness and the possibilities and practical tips and tools for being the leader and creator of your life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Being the Leader of Your Life. I am your host for this, Becky Glenyce. And what we're going to be really looking at, in these podcasts in this episode today is what if being a leader is about knowing what you know and choosing to be a leader in your life regardless of what anyone else thinks or chooses. So today I am so lucky and grateful to be able to bring on the wonderful Glenyce Hughes. And we're really going to, I have some cool questions to ask her about being the leader of her life and business. So Glenyce, you're a total leader, right? I have been following you for a very long time and then was lucky enough to become your best friend in a bathroom. So I'm really excited just to ask you some questions today. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. I am so grateful that we got to meet in the bathroom. And so just to give people a little bit of a context here, we kept going to the bathroom at the same time at a Symphony of Possibilities class in New York with Dr. Dane here. And so finally we're like, okay, and I hadn't met Becky before. This was the first time. So it was like, all right, we are bathroom BFFs. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, it was like the universe was pulling our bladders at the same time so that we could just, meet and chat. And truly it was so cute. And it sounds funny because we're best friends now. But even throughout the years that we've just always been like, hey, best friend, I miss you. How's it going? And then just being able to create together, so I'm so grateful for you. I have to say this because I love the topic of being the leader and being different. So I pulled a little bit of your bio that I'd love to talk about how different it is. I think then, if you're finding this podcast from who knows where, and you're used to the normal podcasts, we do things a little bit differently here. So Glenyce, I love this. So it says, I went from being an awesome hairdresser, a psychiatric nurse, to talking to dead people, to now facilitating global awareness and awesomeness, then anything is possible. And now that's just a snippet of your bio, so if you want to say anything else, but how cool and how different are you just to have, I was a hairdresser, a psychiatric nurse, and now I talk to dead people and facilitate awesomeness.
Right?
That's what it does.
Oh, yes. It's one of those things. And what's funny is I did the psychiatric nursing first. So, and I go back a little bit further. When I actually first graduated from high school, I registered and was in a program to actually be a radio DJ. And then,
were you?
Right? And there was like a 10-day class or a 2-week class. It was very short because, I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty easy. the learning of that. I don't mean disrespect to people who do that. There's more, but the first steps is that. And then I woke up one day before the class started, and I woke up knowing I was to be a psychiatric nurse.
Wow.
I just boom, I just knew it, with every ounce of me, I knew it. And so changed it, and then worked for a year, because it took another year to get into that program, and did that, took that, did all the things, went and worked for a few years. And then I was like, I kind of want to be a hairdresser. I'd always wanted to be a hairdresser. I did people's hair growing up, so I should go be a hairdresser. And in a sense, it was to get it out of my system, because I had this probably knowing that if I didn't do it, I would always have this well, if I would have done that, that sort of energy. So I went and became a hairdresser and hated it. Did you know that people actually want to tell you how to do their hair? What? Don't tell me what to do. That's going to look like shit on you. But anyway, so I stopped that.
You're hate this, but okay.
So I stopped that. I went back to nursing, and then eventually took a Reiki class, which led me down a whole new path. I knew nothing about energy, nothing about dead people, nothing about any of that, and it just opened the doors. Did that for 10 years, and then found Access, and the last 10 years have mostly been facilitating Access consciousness classes.
Wow, which is so cool, because truly that's in the creation of your life. Being the leader and choosing. First of all, what I was even going to talk about is, if you don't know, you still have a podcast or a radio show. Yeah. I didn't know if you're currently still doing it, but I know I've watched many of your past episodes, and I have listened to that and been mesmerized by your voice. And now I get it. You took a class. You have tools to be amazing at what you do, but you have this relaxation and this ease and this comfortability in it, which is so cool. So, looking at, you being different, creating your life, you're like, I'm taking this. And look what that actually contribute to, your future. Where sometimes we have no idea, these pings come and you're like, yeah, that. And then now you talk to dead people. And what I love about that is being a psychiatric nurse. How many of us, think we're insane? And then, we have all of these different things. And it might be you have a capacity with entities. And then here you are, a psychiatric nurse, being, this space in there. So I love that following, you're I don't know, maybe I should do this. And then you have hair, and then all these really cool things. So, wow. What a great example of just following the energy. So I do have, just a few questions that I've been excited to ask you. And, actually the first one I wanted to ask you, and I think you really already kind of spoke to it, was, have you always been, the leader and creator of your life?
Yes. And I'm not sure that I always knew it or always acknowledged it. One of the things that I played a lot in, Becky, is the victim energy. And so I was creating, yes, and of course, if we look big picture, absolutely.
Right.
Yet there was a lot of choices in there that really was kind of clouded with that poor me, victim energy type of stuff. And so that's something I've really changed in the last 10 years with the tools from Access. So now it's much clearer. It's ease for me to be the leader of my life. It's ease for me to make choices when nobody else is choosing them. There's nothing there. It's yeah, I'm going, coming or not. I'm okay with that. And previously, I just want people to realize it wasn't like this the whole time. There was a lot of stumbling and doubt and crazy and all of that I used to play with. And now,
so I wonder too. That's such a great thing to bring up too. I wonder if someone's listening to this and they're like, yeah, that's easy for you, Glenyce, because look where you're at now, right? But I wonder what, and so I know you said you started with the Access Consciousness tools, but does anything stand out for you then in your life where you went from, what am I doing? Like, I'm not a leader. Well, you wouldn't use the word leader. All of us would just, when we're using the leader of your life now, because we're seeing this big overview picture and you can get it. But, when you're going through this, if somebody's like, what am I doing? I'm not a leader. Like, did you have like an aha moment, or like, is it many aha moments that looked and you were able to have a different perspective of your life?
It was probably many aha moments. And the one that's kind of popping right now is, and this was, I'd probably been using the tools with Access a couple of years, and the victim thing has been, again, long time and still can pop up. And I remember I'd hired a woman and spent the most I'd ever spent on a web page. And so she sent me this preview of it, basically. And I was so excited. And when I opened it, it was like, this is nothing that I asked for. Like, nothing. And I just went to bed. It was nighttime, and I just went to bed because I thought, I don't even, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But what I did was I went to bed, and of course it was on my mind, and I was spinning in it, and I was like, basically what I was saying to myself was, I guess I can be happy with it. I guess I'll find a way to be happy with it. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. What the hell am I doing? Why would I not say to her, this isn't okay with me? In fact, this isn't what I asked for. Because I probably wasn't 100% clear, but there were some things I had specifically asked for that we could go back and, the document and wasn't there. And it really showed me that I had really got this idea, this point of view, that you just be happy with what you're given. You just find a way to make it work without telling the person what you would like, especially when I'm paying them. Like, and that was, I remember getting up out of bed, going to my computer and emailing her, because it was like, I don't need to make this work for me. This doesn't work for me. It's okay to say, no, thank you. Please do what I asked. And I could do that kindly. I didn't need to be evil about it. I didn't need to be mean about it. It was just from this place of truly being the leader of my life, saying, no, here's what I would like. Please add these or redo it. Or I don't know exactly what I said, but that was such an aha moment for me, because it was like, where else am I doing this? Where else am I not even being honest with me that it doesn't work for me? I'm trying to make it fit. Like, what?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, we talk a lot about abuse in many different areas of life. Like, people talk about, different abuse, but, with the story that you brought up, even for me, I abused me. Right? Like, how many times have you settled and then not wanted to, hurt other people's feelings or whatever? So in turn, technically, I would abuse me, because I could handle it. I can do it. Like, I can make this work. I can just, and gosh, what a great thing to bring up. So if somebody is like doing that, what would you suggest? Is there a tool?
Well, the first thing is, and this is something that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, talks about all the time. And I would say, if I were to try to pick one thing out of the bazillion things I've received from these tools, is that we need to stop lying to us. We need to start being honest with us. And so even if you can get to the place where this actually doesn't work for me, like, just tell yourself that. You don't have to do anything else with it, but if you start there, what it did for me was it really started to unravel, and I still use it to this day. And the question that I actually ask is, if I was choosing for me here, what would I choose? Now, it does not mean that I choose that thing, because it's not all about me. I really, I choose to look at a bigger, what we call in Access, the kingdom of we. So not just me, not the kingdom of I, but what I was really good at, and probably many people listening, is the kingdom of them. So I was very aware that web designer wanted to be done. She was happy with it. It fit for her. So I was in her world. Yeah. I was in her world, kingdom of them. You're happy with it, basically. And then when I looked at the kingdom of we, it actually created more to say, no, thank you. This is what I would like, because if I go, okay, yeah, whatever you need, yeah, you're happy with it, I'll be happy with it, I'll make it fit, but I'm just going to spin, I'm going to hate it, I'm going to be judgy, I'm going to do all this stuff, that's not actually creating the kingdom of we either. So first step is to acknowledge what you would like, and that question, if I was choosing for me here, what would I choose? And then look at it from a greater place. Like, so if you've got, let's say in this case, if I was choosing for me, what would I choose? Well, not this web page. Okay.
You're like, this doesn't work. Yeah.
This doesn't work. So then the question of truth, if I tell her it doesn't work, will it create the future I desire or decay the future I desire? So in that case, it would create the future. So I told her, but that's kind of the next question when we want to start going from, okay, here's what works for me. Now what's going to create the future I desire? We want to look a little bit bigger in that sense. And it's just the next question. And then it's like, okay, so then let's say it's something you would prefer not to do. Okay, but once you get at least for me, once I get the sense it's going to create the future I desire, done. It's so much more ease to choose it because I'm aware it's going to create greater for everyone. Now, when she redid it the way that I'd asked her. I was thrilled with it. That's contributing to her business. That's contributing to her life. That's contributing to me, to my business, to my life, all of it, rather than if I'd have just sat back and been the victim of, oh, well, she did all that work, I should be happy. And that's not creating anything except crap.
Yeah. And, because we're looking at business too. And what I love the way you create your business. And really, it's like your business is your life. Watching you, and, if you don't follow Glenyce on any social, you should. I know she's on TikTok and on Facebook, and, I'm sure there's so much more Instagram. I'm sure, there's so many places to follow. And it's like you actually include, like what you said, the kingdom of we in your whole life. It's like you are your business. And that is a little bit, it is a little bit different and done differently. And, really choosing for you in business is totally different. And I was looking at your website, and like you had this really cool phrase on one of your pages, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like just talk about this. And you had like then a quote after it, but it was like the way you think about your business and your life will either create it or diminish it. And which is brilliant. And then I'm not sure if it's the whole phrase, but then I wrote it down. Here you go. Because then you quote Gary Douglas from Access Consciousness, where it says, create is the choice, actualization is bringing something into existence, and what can we actualize with our business that we haven't been willing or able to choose? And that part was a Gary Douglas quote. But like what we just talked about, even with your website, really choosing for you and what worked for you. So with that quote about the way you think about your business and your life will either create it or diminish it. Can you speak to that just a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It really is, and I often refer to this quote from Henry Ford. It's like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
To me, it's that, right? Like, so if we're going, oh, life is tough and it's a struggle and there's never enough money and nobody wants to play in my business, and you're right. You'll always prove yourself right. So again, it's about getting honest with ourselves and what would we like? Not sometimes, probably all the time when we go on social media, there's all sorts of information being delivered to us, right? There's this people that do affiliate marketing and they're making, 7 figures. And there's these people who do access classes and they're making 7 figures. And there's these people who do Amazon stuff and they're making 7 figures. And we go, yes, 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 yes. It's like, okay. And what would you like? What would you like? Like, if you were to write out your perfect day, what does that look like? For some people, it is on stage in front of thousands. For some people, it is behind a computer screen an hour a day. For some people, it is going out and traveling the world and meeting new people all the time and interacting and engaging in those ways. Yep. What is our way? And it will change. That's the thing I know with myself, is that what worked before, what really lit me up before, I've got to be really present with and really aware, because when it changes, I sometimes don't acknowledge that. So it can change into, oh no, it needs to look like this, it needs to. And I mean, the recent kind of shutdown for a few years has been a great example, because prior to that, hubby and I were traveling all the time and, facilitating classes in all the countries. I mean, it was amazing. I am so grateful. And then when we couldn't, it was like I went, oh, thank goodness. Which, I mean, I knew a few months earlier that it was time for a change, but if it wouldn't have been forced upon me, I'm not sure I would have done it so quickly. Because it's like, really, is it, and I don't mean that I will never do that again, it's just, what would I like? Because that was what I liked, and that worked really well, and then it started to change. So what would I like? What is that idea of, getting up in the morning? How would I spend my day? What is that? And then asking for that. And it's not even that we have to figure it out, like at 8 a.m. I would do this, and at 9 a.m. It's not that, but it's the energy of what we would like. Like, what is that for you? When you think of having the most magical day ever, what are those energies? And ask for them now. And that can show up in, like we talked about before, it can show up in taking a hairdressing course. It could show up, in my case, taking the Business Done Different, the Joy Business Certified Facilitators with Simone Millicis earlier this year. That was never on my radar before. Not once has it been on my radar to attend that class. And it's been years and years that it's been around. And then this year is like, boom, gotta be there. Okay, done. Like, it's just, and it's following that. And does that mean then that I'm going to facilitate all of those classes and do all the right things from this I'm not sure. I know I won't get it right, that's for sure. But I'll do whatever. I just follow that energy. And by energy, following the energy is sometimes confusing for people, but if there's something that lights you up, something that makes you smile, at least ask more questions about it. Doesn't mean you have to choose it, but at least ask more questions. Going back to truth, if I choose this, will it create the future I desire or decay the future I desire?
Yeah. Well, and so you have on your website, which I love, because you just talked about a little bit about, well, you have all these things going on around you and these different options. You have a clearing actualization, kind of what we just talked about.
Is it the clearing call you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. That is like, that is one of the tools then, obviously, like what I wanted to get to really to with this question, which it's not coming out exactly yet, but what I wanted to really look at is, so you gave us these great examples and a wonderful, like how it changed for you. But really, when I looked at that clearing thing, it's like, hey, if you want to actualize your life, you like getting rid of all of the noise, the things you've decided, the other people's points of view that really wanted something, you're like, oh, I really want that. And maybe just we're a little bit aware. So can you speak a little bit to, like when you offer these things, like the clearing of things, like what would that look like if somebody wanted to choose that for their life?
Yeah. And I want to speak to something else first, because this might contribute something. When I choose the things that I choose in business, whether it's like this clearing call that Becky's talking about, or a Business Done Different class, or a foundation, or anything, everything I choose in my business, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but it's true.
What is it?
It's for me.
What?
I know. I don't do business for other people. I don't look at what people are asking for and what they would buy and then try to sell that. It doesn't work for me. What works for me is looking at, what would I like more awareness? Where would I like more information? Where would I like to exponentialize? And that's what I put out there. And people who have played with me for a while, they're very aware of that. And I use it in my marketing, and I say, would you like to join in this conversation? I'm going to take a deeper dive. Would you like to join? So it's not like, I've got all this information about this, join me and I will share the information. I don't have that. I'm putting it on so we can collectively co-create that together. I have some information about it, but I'm having the class, the whatever, to do that. And that's a very bizarre way to do business.
Different. It's very business done different.
Business done different. That's right. That's right. And I mean, truly, most people would not even admit if that was a thing, because it seems selfish. And it's like, I have tried to do business for other people. I have tried to do it, and it doesn't work, because it just doesn't for me. Whatever works for other people, I'm grateful that works for them. But for me, it's not about figuring it out for other people. It kind of goes back to the kingdom of we. I can do kingdom of them. I've done that very well. It just doesn't create the future I desire. So when I do kingdom of we, it's a totally different space. And so it could sound like it's kingdom of I, because I'm like, I'm just doing it for me. But it's actually kingdom of we. Because it's like, hey, let's co-create this together. Let's look at this together and see where we go and what other information we can receive.
That is so wonderful. And thank you for speaking to that, because I actually have been really looking at that myself. Of like, I have this big demand in my world. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And more of really like, how can I have more fun in everything that I do? And, diving through your stuff isn't always fun, and when I mean stuff, it's like what you're talking about. You're really asking for these things, and you're asking for something different, and you're asking for change. And that sometimes, isn't always so, when I say, oh, fun, but it's the energy of that, my future as well that I'm looking for. And so, what I think too is, because that was wonderful. And when you're looking at doing these things for you, you have an amazing set of tools that you use, and you're willing to look at it. And then, with that, with even like clearing and then actualizing your business, what one tool, can you just talk about now that like they would receive if they took that with you and created that with you?
With that specific call, so this is often also how I receive that sort of information, is I'll be listening to an old class or going through reference materials, and something will pop. And so in that specific call, it's the Advanced Business Mentorship with Access Consciousness from a couple of years ago. And Gary kept correcting people when they would say, creating a business. How can I create my business more magical or something like that? And he'd always say, it's actualize. He says, when you create, so 20 years ago when I started this business, I created the business.
Yeah.
Everything since that has been actualization. But every time I said, what would it take to create a bigger business or a more magical business or whatever, I killed the previous business. So we're constantly killing the business when we use the term create.
Wow.
I know, right? And I was like, holy shit, how much have I done that? So then I looked at, and so then that's what he says, like actualization is actually what we're doing. And then with that clearing at the end, where it's like, what we haven't been willing or able to choose, that spurred so much for me, because it's like, yeah. So if I'm constantly killing my business, that's exhausting. And then we get to that space of actualization. Now, what haven't we been willing or able to choose? So that's the piece that, we'll talk about the killing, whatever, people have questions around that also. Yeah. The thing that was really inspiring was that willing or able to choose was like, whoa. That to me, there's so much in the business that I haven't been willing to choose, and I wasn't even aware I was able to choose it. So that.
Brilliant. That is so brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you know what? I was like, hey, this is going to be quick. But I've had so many questions. How can we talk a little bit about your website and you on social? How can people find you if they want to know more?
Yeah, so GlenyceHughes.com, and I know it's not an easy name, but it is. I don't know if you'll have show notes or if you'll text somewhere with this, but people can go click on that link. Or I'm pretty much Glenyce Hughes on any social media. You can come and find me. I'm most active, I would say, at this point on TikTok, Facebook.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I love it. I'm almost at 1,000 followers, so I can start doing live soon. So that's an exciting thing for me because I love hopping on and actually, playing that way too. So yeah, though you can find me. If not, reach out to Becky and she can get you connected to me.
Yeah, and if you don't follow her, go follow her on TikTok so she can do some lives. Yay! Well, thank you so much, BFF, for coming on here with me. I so adore you. I love the way you be in the world, and you're such a gift.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you, Miss Becky.
Yeah, thank you. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. My target is to create more possibilities in the world and empower people to know what they know and create more consciousness. So if you find this podcast helpful, please leave a review and share if you know someone that this would also contribute to. You can also visit me on my website at becky-vaness.com and be sure to subscribe to check out more episodes. See you somewhere soon. Bye.